Ironhead is a guy in his 60s who is recognized for having an iron-like cranium. Ironhead, his brother Iron Crotch, and sister Roar have all been trained martial arts by their teacher since they were very little. Ironhead can smash his skull into bricks and not feel a thing. Iron Crotch specializes in bearing a crotch as powerful as a diamond since he has been pounding a metal punching swing with his crotch to train himself. Similarly, Roar's voice has the power to terminate people's lives with a single shriek. She has been accused of breaking people's eardrums with her laugh, and every day she smashes at least 5 glasses with her voice while training. When the 3 siblings were little, their abilities were appreciated, but as they grew older, so were their talents. People lost interest in them, and even though they continued to train, their efforts were not recognized. Furthermore, the Iron siblings were mainly jobless throughout their lives, resulting in Ironhead being neck-deep in debt. One morning, debt collectors storm into his flat and seize all of his stuff in order to collect the money he owes them. Their boss also notices Ironhead's old certifications and mocks him for taking such a dumb route in life. He eats whatever he has left after they depart, using a little chair and some leftover dinnerware. Ironhead bemoans his lot in life and, at the age of 60, eventually accepts it. He heads out to find work, determined to make a difference. The first group he encounters is a gangster's henchmen who are sharing money among themselves. Ironhead is astounded by the amount of money they earn for performing such a basic work and chooses to join the gang. Next, the group, the elderly guy arrives at a gym in the following scene. Riker, the gang leader's right-hand man, is ready to toss him out when Jai intervenes. He is eager to listen to Ironhead's predicament, but when he learns that he wants to join the gang, he laughs at the old man's expression. Ironhead begs them to give him a chance, but he is eventually thrown away. Ironhead's daughter and grandson arrive to his residence late at night, offering assistance. He is, however, much too proud of himself to take money from them. To keep him occupied, the daughter sends her son to stay with him for a few days. Ironhead, despite his displeasure, offers the child a ball to keep him amused. The following morning, Jai's minions are driving through a neighboring street, reminding Ironhead of the creditor's treatment of him. It motivates him to go a step farther, causing him to leap in front of the automobile. To avoid difficulties, the criminals promptly assist him and accept him into the group. Jai is willing to give Ironhead a chance based on his men's recommendations, but first he must show his value by collecting money from a particularly obstinate customer. Ironhead accepts the challenge and sets out to find the aforementioned individual. He turns out to be a prosperous businessman who is having lunch with a customer. Ironhead first just asks him to repay the loan, but the guy, as predicted, ignores him. Ironhead breaches a line on his second try and spits his meal at the businessman. The enraged debtor slams a glass bottle on Iron Skull's head, but instead of backing down, Ironhead proceeds to smash numerous bottles on himself. People around him see the businessman as the evil, as opposed to a typical debt collector. As a consequence, the guy is embarrassed and turns over his credit card to Ironhead. Ironhead's abilities amaze Jai back at the gangster's stronghold. He pays him a 30% commission on the money he gathered and offers to boost the numbers if he keeps up the excellent job. Riker, Jai's right-hand man, is envious of the new guy's preferential treatment. He urgently attempts to persuade his employer that Ironhead was just unlucky, but the old guy is nevertheless given a chance. In the video below, we witness him make a fortune in a single month. He has a lot of fancy furnishings, electronics, and drinks in his residence. He makes a point of concealing his occupation from Iron Crotch, Roar, and the Master, knowing that they would not back him up. They even come to his residence, but Ironhead lies about the furnishings and manages to conceal his job. He is then sent to collect from a teenage worker called Bao one day. His typical method succeeds, and Bao offers him 30,000 yuan, which was all he possessed at the time. Ironhead agrees and gives the money to the boss, but Riker dismisses it as a hoax. Their regulation is that they should never take more than half of the money, therefore Bao owes them 300,000 rupees. Riker taunts Ironhead, calling him a fake and questioning his competency. Ironhead, enraged, swears to collect the whole sum in 3 days. Otherwise, he will have to pay the whole sum himself and would be considered a debtor. Ironhead feels confident in his abilities, whereas Riker wishes for his demise. Riker and his men beat up the elderly guy in the streets and tore the paper with Bao's accounts in it when they returned home at night. This makes it more difficult for Ironhead to establish that Bao owes them money. He manages to get back on his feet and return home. Later, another guy comes to his home to return his portion of the money. Ironhead accepts it gladly, but then his daughter and her police officer husband come. They suspect the man is a debt collector and tell him to leave the premises. Ironhead does not want people to know about his occupation and therefore loses money. In the next scene, we see Ironhead's son-in-law at a robbed residence. Bao owns the home, and it turns out that he is the one who took the money intended for his mother's healthcare costs. He accepts his error and informs everyone that it was to pay off his obligations. After an intense discussion, Bao pledges that he would never do something like that again. Ironhead's son-in-law and his co-workers also contribute a few thousand yuan to assist the family. The next day, Ironhead returns to Bao and employs his usual tactic to force him to pay. The uproar occurs in the middle of the street, pushing onlookers to shout at Bao to pay up. With no other option, the impoverished guy imitates Ironhead by hitting himself on the head with a brick. The elderly gentleman merely offers him a handkerchief and goes away, regretful. He never intended to use his talent for evil, and he is becoming someone he despises. Zhai and Riker are viewing Ironhead from their automobile at the same moment. Zhai has always had reservations about him, and Riker works hard to stoke the fire. They are certain that he will fail, but they want to wait 3 days before taking action against him. Later that day, Iron Crotch, Roar, and the Master barge into Ironhead's residence to see how he became so wealthy. They are outraged that he would utilize his skills to commit such a heinous crime. Furthermore, the firm for which he works takes advantage of the underprivileged by offering them loans with alarmingly high interest rates. Ironhead is so ashamed that he wishes the dirt will swallow him. He gives the rest of his money to the Master and promises never to work again. However, after witnessing the amount of money, the Master and his entourage change their minds. He declares them a squad of 4 debt collectors and goes to work with Ironhead. Iron Crotch is beaten severely with a hammer in front of their customers, forcing them to pay up quickly. They make hundreds of dollars in an hour using the same approach, but they have yet to persuade Bao. He argues that he does not have any money, but the gang wants him to sell the house to pay them, despite the fact that he and his family would be homeless as a result. When Bao still does not pay, Roar begins yelling pay up outside his house. She continues to do so for the following 2 days without stopping, and ultimately Bao's mother agrees to let him sell the home. In the next scene, Ironhead and the colleagues deliver the money to Zhai. Zhai mocks Riker for ever questioning Ironhead and appoints him as his right-hand man. Ironhead gains control of the whole gang, much to Riker's chagrin. Ironhead and the organization will continue to collect money in the same manner for the next month. It works well because people are afraid of getting struck with a hammer as the Master does to Iron Crotch. The gang also earns a lot of money and begins to live life to the fullest. Furthermore, they accept the burden of training additional criminals in order to generate more money. Then, for Ironhead's birthday, he throws a massive bash. Everyone is having a good time until Zhai warns them of the coming of the big boss Yen. He invites Ironhead, Zhai, and the others to his vehicle and wishes him a happy birthday. The salesperson also uses the opportunity to notify them that their organization is now offering college student loans. Yen intends to take advantage of their youth and impressionability. Ironhead is uncomfortable with the notion, but he is afraid to contradict the big boss. The next day, they are instructed to collect from a young college girl. She is frightened when she witnesses someone beat Iron Crotch. To avoid the same fate, she decides to pay them by selling her nude images. Ironhead watches her walk away with the gangsters and feels bad for his involvement. To distract himself from the girl, he chooses to spend time with his grandson. They embark on a cruise together and have a great time over the following week. Meanwhile, the college girl is duped into entering a room with Riker. Ling, a less important member of the gang, does not approve of the girl being exploited. He tries to retaliate but is stopped by his superiors. Ironhead, his grandson, and the rest of the group are walking down a beach after the trip when they come across Bao's mother and daughter living in the open. Ironhead is accused by the little girl of causing her family to suffer. His grandson and she have a fight, which ends with the boy swinging a glass bottle at her. Ironhead takes the blow, and his head bleeds for the first time as a result of the blow. This is the last straw for him, and he no longer wants to be associated with Yen, Zhai, or their company. He informs Yen of his decision the next time they meet. The gangster is clearly upset that his best man is leaving, but he walks away without saying anything. Following that, Ironhead meets Ling, who has been assigned to care for his grandson. Yan's man, who kidnapped the child, thrashed the poor guy. Ironhead, enraged, is ready to risk everything for his grandson, but first he calls his daughter and asks her to stay safe. In other news, Ironhead sends Bao's mother a credit card and an apology letter. She can finally afford to purchase a home and get off the streets. Ironhead's squad storms into Yan's gym with firearms in the following incident. Because of the firearms, the boy is released, and the criminals surrender. However, Roar inadvertently pulls the trigger, showing that the weapons are toys. The trio is then apprehended and asked to film college females. Yen wants to deprive them of their values in order to demonstrate that they are just as bad as the rest of his staff. Ironhead, instead of holding the camera, holds a pistol to his head. The SWAT squad lowers from the ceiling seconds before he is shot, having exposed the gang's involvement in money laundering. Finally, all of the gangsters, including Yen and Zhai, are apprehended, and the girls are released. Iron Head walks out of his house in the last scene and goes to live with his daughter's family. He, Iron Crotch, Roar, and the Masters swear they will never utilize their abilities hurriedly again.